Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2013 horror remake, Carrie. The film is directed by Kimberly Peirce and it stars Chloe Grace Moretz, Julianne Moore, Gabriella Wilde. We have Carissa Strain and Ansel Elgort. Right. Okay, this is obviously the remake from the classic 70s horror film of the same name, written by Stephen King. And we meet Carrie White, who is the daughter of, I suppose you would call her a religious fanatic, I suppose, Julianne Moore's character, Margaret White. She has been wrapped in cotton wool her whole life, so therefore Carrie is very reserved, very shy, doesn't have any knowledge of how the world works, anything like that. So she's a bit of an outsider at school, as you could imagine. And this one particular day at school, she has her first period in the showers, has no idea what's going on, thinks actually that something's wrong with her and she might be dying. All the girls laugh at her, take videos, take pictures, make her life a living hell. And this is also the trigger for Carrie to start discovering that she actually has got some powers, these like weird powers that have been passed on from her grandmother, and she's got the ability of telekinesis, if you like, that she can move things around. Very, very powerful indeed. One of the girls at school that joined in, Sue, feels very, very guilty about what she did, so she asks her boyfriend, who's like the high school like athlete, very popular, to ask her out to the prom. He does, she accepts, and we all know what happens next. Right, what are my thoughts on Carrie? Well, I have to be honest here. It's such a long time since I've seen the original Carrie, and I'll be honest, I wasn't really a big fan of it. For me, it's one of those movies where you think, you know, could that movie have a remake? And I would have said yes, because I feel like I'm not a big fan of it, so I don't have that baggage. And I didn't have that baggage going into this film, because A, I'm not a huge fan of the original, and B, I don't remember a great deal about it, so I'm not particularly precious. So I went in this with kind of open eyes, so to speak. And while I do think this is a very, very competently made film, it's I don't know, there's something just missing, and it's really hard to put your finger on it. It's one of those remakes where, if you like, from what I can remember from the original, the things they kept probably needed changing, and the things they changed didn't need changing. I think the changes they made, they shouldn't have done, and the changes they needed to make, they probably didn't. I don't know. It didn't feel scary. The transition from who she is, like this young, shy, insecure girl, to what she becomes, for me, is too jarring. And that might be the case. I think it might have worked better. I mean, again, from what I can remember from the original, it actually made it more effective when it happened because of who she was. It didn't feel effective to me when what happened at the prom happens, that she would just kind of do what she does. It just felt too jarring, and it went on too long. You know what I mean? And it just, I don't know. I never really felt fear. I never really felt sympathy. And I never really felt sorry for anybody at this prom. And for me, that's fundamental. That's something tells me that there's something fundamentally wrong with the film if you don't care. I didn't even care really about the relationship between her and her mother. I didn't necessarily feel that connection. I think we needed more of that. And again, I think it might have worked better, showing her growing up a little bit, rather than just being born, then Chloe Grace Moretz sort of thing. I just think they could have made different choices here to kind of, instead of doing the remake that they did, doing a remake that honours the original but has its own story to tell, if you like. And I just didn't feel it did that. And it's a shame because there's loads of talent here. I mean, Chloe Grace Moretz, I think, is a very fine actress. She's proven that many, many times. And on the surface of it, at that point in her career, it made perfect sense to cast her as Carrie. I think she was a good choice. And I don't think she gave a bad performance in any way, shape, or form. It just, if you like, the performance, I don't think always matched the character. At times, it felt like she was in charge of the mother and not the other way around. And like the Carrie that you meet right at the beginning of the film that wouldn't say boo to a goose, half an hour later into the film, it doesn't feel like the same person, regardless of anything that happens in the film. There's nothing definitive that happens in this film that kind of turns the corner, other than the discovery of these powers. But they don't really explore that in a sense of, maybe she feels powerful now because of these powers. Maybe that's what's given her confidence, or but no, because it doesn't even go that deep into that in regards to the powers that she got. She gets these powers and she just accepts them. She's incredibly powerful. She does a little bit of research on it, and then she just accepts it. Okay, I've got these powers now. And it just feels too easy, too simple. Because I've got these powers now, am I going to be the confident popular girl? Am I going to make things work for me? No, not necessarily. I'm just going to be a little bit more confident than I was at the beginning of the film. It's just the shift doesn't make sense for me. So again, it feels like I'm kind of crapping on this film from a great height, and I don't mean to, because I actually, I was engaged throughout. I wasn't bored particularly watching this. And I thought, the performances all kind of held me. I just feel they could have, really done something much better with this film than what they actually gave us. And that is a nice screen van just turning up right now. But no, I mean, what they gave us, I thought, was a bit of a lazy remake at the end of the day. I've seen worse remakes than this by a long, long stretch, and I don't think this is definitely really, really terrible or anything. But it could have been so much better than what we actually got. So that's my thoughts on Carrie. Let me know your thoughts if you've seen it. And are you a big fan of the original? Should I revisit that one? Because I haven't seen that for such a long time. And I will, of course, be back with plenty more content on the channel very, very soon.